So you want to put a T5 transmission in your classic Mustang. And while the T5 from the 1983 to 1993 V8 Mustang would be the ideal candidate for this swap, what if you don't have the budget for that transmission? Or what if all you can find on the internet is some guy selling a T5 from a 1994 to 2004 V6 Mustang? Well, we can still make that work, and I'll show you the 3 things you're going to need to want to know about before you put that in your car. Now, while there are a handful of differences between the V6 T5 and the V8 T5, and excluding all of the other T5s that Tremec made for the S10 pickup, the Isuzu Rodeo, the AMC Jeep, there's other models and vehicles that Tremec made the T5 for. We're just going to focus on the T5 that came out of the V6 Mustang and the one that was in the V8 Mustang. So that there's a handful of differences, but the ones that are going to be important for us are going to be the mounting location for the Crossmember. It's going to be the way that the transmission gives you the speed of the vehicle, you know, mechanical gear versus electronic system. And then the input shaft is the other thing that's going to be important. There's gear ratio differences. There's things like with the non-world class versus world class. We're talking about the world class transmission, and you can tell that by the front. On the front of the transmission, you can see this little ring around the bearing race right here. That tells you that it's a world class. If it doesn't have this ring like this, then it's not a world class. Well, we're just talking about the world class V6 transmissions, and this will still work. In fact, I put one of these in a previous Mustang, not knowing that I had purchased the V6 T5, and I had to solve all those riddles and problems along the way, but I got it done, and I'll show you the things we need to do. So we're going to start with the easiest one, and that's the mounting location for the Crossmember. In fact, let me get all of this junk out of the way so we can simplify this setup here. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, so the Crossmember mount on the V6 T5 is about an inch farther back, or I guess an inch this way towards the end of the tail shaft than what's on the V8 model. And the problem that causes is that the crossmembers that you can buy for these swaps are for the V8 T5, not for the V6. You can make it work, and I'm not aware of anybody that makes one specifically for the V6 T5 that fits in our classic Mustangs. But you can modify the ones for the V8, and I did that on a previous Mustang. I had to cut the ends of the mounts off and move them over an inch, and then weld them back on, and it was an easy fix for this. It didn't cause any problems with the mounting. Everything's still lined up. There wasn't any, you know, transmission angle problems or left to right within the car. None of that stuff. It was just that this is mounted an inch farther back, so that changes where it mounts on the crossmember, or the crossmember can't mount to the car in the same place, so you have to modify the crossmember. That's the easiest way to do it. So that's the first thing you have to deal with when putting these T5 from a V6 Mustang into your classic Mustang. So the next issue is the speedometer, the way that your car is going to read the speed of your vehicle. The output shaft of these transmissions is where we're going to get that information from. And on the V8 T5s, right around in this area on the tail shaft housing there's an output for you to put in the speedometer gear, and there you go. But most of us don't have a digital speedometer or digital dash that we can read the signal from the VSS, the vehicle speed sensor that's in here. It's essentially like a Hall effect sensor, and as the shaft spins by a magnet, it counts the pulse, and so many pulses per revolution is so many miles per hour, and transmission, you know, it doesn't matter about the transmission. It has to do with the size of the tire and the gear ratio that you have in the back and stuff, but we don't need to worry about that for this. But what you can do, there's a couple ways you can fix this. You can upgrade to, well, if you got like a GPS aftermarket gauge for your instrument cluster, then it doesn't matter what you've got in here, you're going to read GPS. That's one way you can do it. Another way you can do it is get an aftermarket gauge, whether it's the round gauges like from Autometer or whatever, like I would have gotten in my car, or even the stock style looking instrument bezels. I believe there's a way you can get those electronic too. They'll read this signal off of this sensor, and it'll convert it into miles per hour, and in the way you go. That's way number two. The third way is you can get a, it's complicated because I had to do it on that previous Mustang. There's a box you can buy that converts this signal into a mechanical spinning motion, and then you can plug in your speedometer cable from the back of your instrument cluster into that box, and then it'll just spin that cable, and then you have to calibrate it. And again, I had to do that before, and I just mount that box underneath the dash of your car. It was a couple $100 extra to do that versus, you know, whether you get a speedometer that's got the signal that this can read or whatever. But it was a way that I did it back then, and you can do that with your cars. There's ways to make this work if you don't have the V8 transmission, which is why we're doing this. You could go through and get a V8 tail shaft and then get the output shaft from the V8, and then while you're there, you might as well change the gears in the inside. But then with all that money and cost, you're right up back to the cost of just buying the V8 version, and that's what we're trying to avoid, right? Is if we don't have the budget for that, and this is what you've got, we can make it work, and in the end, it'll still be cheaper than buying the V8 version in most cases. You might be able to find a good deal somewhere, but this is what we're gonna be able to do to get this speedometer to work. Now, in my setting with this, we talked about the mount for that. That's an easy way that we can fix that by modifying the Crossmember. There's a couple ways to do this. And then the third thing that we need to know about these transmissions, and this is actually the most important one because this one has to be fixed, it has to be changed, it has to be addressed, is the input shaft length on this transmission. On the V6 T5s, you've got this input shaft length is 0.67 inches longer than the V8 version. And unfortunately, you just can't cut off 0.67 inches off the end of this pilot bearing snout and just call it a day. It won't work. You're gonna have to get a shorter input shaft. And then also, you're gonna wanna change this bearing retainer. This aluminum housing on here is not ideal. You want the steel one. These are the ones that were on the V8 T5s, stronger, better. This is what you're gonna want. And since you have to replace the input shaft, might as well do the bearing houser while you're there. Bearing housing. This is the correct length input shaft. This one is, again, 0.67 inches shorter than what came out of the V6 model. And it's gonna work the exact same as this one does. It's gonna have the same 10 spline count on here. And that's for most of us. If you've got a setup where you've got like a 26 spline clutch or something like that, you were doing something, you'd have to change this anyways, and you might be able to find one that's got that. But for most of us, we're gonna be sticking with the 10 spline input shaft and the clutch that goes with it. So you're gonna wanna get a new one of these. Unfortunately, most of them don't come with the bearings. You can buy a kit where you've got this, and then you've got the tapered bearings that go with this, and the shims and the needle bearings that go inside here and everything. You can find a kit for that. And then that leads me into the whole bearing. I mean, ultimately, you really should go through and replace everything inside the transmission. Now, if you knew the status of the transmission had recently been rebuilt, you probably don't need to do that. And to make this work in the car, we just need to take this off, and we can put this one on and shim it correctly, and away we go. It will likely work, but gosh, while you're here, this would be a great time to pull the cover off, pull the tail shaft out, pull the internals out, and go through and replace all the bearings, replace the seals, replace the if you have any chipped up gears or anything inside there, you're gonna wanna check that out. Any bits and pieces in the bottom of the transmission housing, the synchros, all that stuff. You're gonna wanna go through and refreshen all that stuff up if you can. It's really the best way to do this. And then there's also that whole thing with the retainer housing, or the retainer cap on the intermediate shaft or the counter shaft inside here, that it's made of steel and it can stretch under load because of the way the taper bearings are set up. You can buy a steel cap, and I'm gonna do all that stuff on this transmission. I'm not gonna cover all that in this video because there are much better videos out there about how to tear down a T5 and rebuild it. Specifically, like if you guys go to Eric the Car Guy, you go to his channel, he did a two-part video with Paul Cangialosi, arguably the #1 top guru when it comes to T5 transmissions. In fact, he made a book about it. He wrote a book about about servicing these. He's done thousands of these transmissions. He's the guy you want to get your information from and get your parts from if you can. Anyways, that video with Eric the Car Guy is probably the best video out there, I think, about tearing these things down and servicing everything and building them back up. So I'm not going to cover that here, but I will do that work myself. But for this video, it's really the location of the Crossmember, the speedometer you got to deal with, and then this. Let's go ahead and get this taken off, and I'll show you what it looks like and how easy it is to take this off of here. And we're going to make the assumption that you went ahead and drained the fluid out of the transmission already. We're going to want to take a 13mm socket and remove these 4 bolts on the front of this bearing retainer. Break this guy loose. And then we're not going to keep this, so you don't need to keep anything in here. There's the bearing race in here, there's a seal in here, there's shim. Actually, keep the shims underneath this bearing race. We're going to want to, if we can get this guy out of here. There we go. These shims underneath here, you want to hold on to that because we are going to need to re-shim the new one, and we're going to use these as part of that effort to make sure we get the right one. So hold on to that. And then this guy, what we're gonna do is we can just lean this thing forward. And the reason why is that there's some needle bearings on the back side of this input shaft, and we don't want them to fall into the transmission, particularly if you guys are not gonna tear it apart, which I don't recommend. But if you're just gonna do just this piece, we wanna be careful we don't drop anything in there. And there's a cutout on the side of the input shaft that allows us to pull it past the counter gear, and we're just gonna kind of break it loose until we find that spot. Spin it around, there we go. Right there. So there's that cutout on the input shaft, and then there's 15 roller bearings inside there. We want to hold on to that. We don't want to lose anything inside the transmission. And there is this guy right here. We don't want to lose that. And then the synchro for 4th gear. I'm going to hold on to those. Here, if you were going to swap in the new one, well, we'll cover that here in a minute, but this is as far as you need to go from there. Now, I'm going to take apart this transmission and rebuild everything. I'm going to swap out this shifter assembly back here, take care of all the stuff inside. So let me come back, put this in. Hey guys, I wanted to show you this real quick, the difference between the stock bearing retainer and this aftermarket piece. So on the counter shaft of these transmissions, you've got this stamped steel bearing retainer, and it's not a bad design, but it's not a good design. It works. The problem is though, because it's made out of stamped steel, it can stretch in place. And what I'm talking about is in these helical gears on this counter shaft and the main shaft, when they're meshing with each other, they want to push apart. And as they push apart, this shaft is going to move axially. So in this case, it's going to move up this way, and it's going to push on this bearing retainer. And those loads that this thing can see is going to be enough that it can stretch this out, and then you're going to have premature wear, and you can cause damage inside there over time, particularly if you have higher load, like if you have an engine that makes a lot of power. The advantage of this aftermarket piece is it's made out of solid steel, CNC piece, and it does the same thing in terms of holding this bearing race in here, and then we're going to make sure we get the appropriate shims. You have to measure that, but when we bolt this in place, it's going to keep this shaft from moving axially, and that's what we want. So this is one of those kind of almost a must-have upgrade in these transmissions. Now I was saying, I recommend you guys, if you're going to take a V6 transmission and do this conversion, you really should take it apart and service everything, do all the bearings, do the seals, do the synchros that are inside here, and just get everything replaced. And while you're here, this is like a $30 part. It's just peace of mind, and it's just going to improve the life of your transmission and just make it better for you in the end. So anyways, all right, back to getting this thing put back together. All right, now that we got this transmission rebuilt, putting the tail shaft housing on is my least favorite part, because all the stuff you have to line up and hope everything's in the right place, and as you're sealing it down, you're hoping that the shifter shaft doesn't drive all the way up inside, but it doesn't fit inside the shifter lug piece back here. But anyways, it's fine, it worked, you know, we were able to shift. But now we want to go back to where we were towards, earlier in this video, where we're talking about the input shaft and changing that length and getting the right one on there. So now that everything's done up to the point where we took it off, again, if you guys are gonna just replace that on your transmission and just put the new one in, this is where you would be. This 4th gear synchro, I probably want to put some of this Transgel gold stuff is slick. It's It's going to be fine to mix with the transmission oil, but it's gooey enough that it will hold itself in place while we try to put this input shaft in and out as we work on the shims. And there's little cutouts on here that you have to make sure that you align with the keys and for the synchros there. So we got to make sure that we get that right. And when you put it in there, it'll kind of lock into place. There we go. Now that'll just stay in there for us, so that's good. Now you saw earlier I also went ahead and put together all the roller bearings inside there. I've got the spacer washer and everything in place. So, and then remember there's that cutout on here. I got a new bearing, everything, we're good to go. So we're just gonna put this in here till she gets past that counter shaft. Oh, one of my rollers fell out, so now I gotta fix that. Okay, let's try this again. There we go. Awesome. Now we're in place. Everybody's happy. That's good. Now I also replaced, for this bearing retainer, we've got a new seal down here at the bottom, and then I've got the shim underneath this bearing race. So I just used the old one to see if that's going to be enough. So we'll slide this on here. Oh, and then the fat of the two, there's a skinny one and a fat one for the oil, for oiling up these bearings. The fat one goes on the bottom. Skinnier one goes on the top. Then we're going to come back and put some Loctite on these screws. But for now, we're just going to do this just to hold it in place and see if these shims are enough. All right. And actually, this actually feels really, really good. Okay, so I'm just going to throw some Loctite on here and tighten these up, and this thing will be done. Nope, scratch that. We got to put some sealant on the front of this. And then we can put some Loctite on there. I forgot to put this on here. Because this is open to the case, we don't want any fluid leaking out the front of this bearing retainer. So let's put this on here, smear it around. Then we can put some Loctite on those fasteners and then we'll be done. Awesome, that feels good. We are set to go, and of course you're going to need the V8 bell housing, but you guys probably already knew that. This is ready to go to install into a V8 Mustang. The shifter here, you probably saw that I put this on here. I've got these stops on here, and the reason why I get a shifter assembly like this is because if you push too hard when you're shifting into gears, you can break those lugs off inside up into the top here in the cap, and I don't want to do that. So having these stops, you can only go so far, and then it hits the screw, and I can't force it any farther and stretch out and break those. So that's why I put these kind of shifter assemblies here on the top. So other than that, we are ready to go. This thing's all fresh and ready, and you guys can put a V6 T5 in your V8 Mustang this easily, and it's pretty cheap. So I'll put some part numbers in the description below. But other than that, good luck, guys. We'll see you in the next one.